Welcome, Fright Night Vault listeners. The night shift in a hospital isn't for the weak. It's the hours between life and death when the machines hum a little louder and the silence becomes a second voice. I was hired last minute at St. Emery Memorial, an old city hospital on the edge of town. I didn't ask too many questions, just needed the paycheck. My first shift was simple: midnight to 8 a.m., 2 wings, 6 rooms, 1 patient on each end, and the rest were empty. Mostly, it was my third night on duty when things changed. The security guards had already left for their rounds. No doctors, just me, a few sleeping patients, and the occasional creak of the old HVAC system. The cameras flickered now and then. Standard for a place this old, the nurses told me. Don't worry if the lights stutter in the West Wing. It's always been like that. At 1:22 in the morning, I was making rounds when I noticed something off with room 209. It was supposed to be empty, but the call light was on, glowing red. I hesitated outside the door. No sounds, no breathing, no movement behind the thick window. I clicked my pen light and opened the door slowly. The bed was made, the sheets were tucked, no one inside, but the pillow had an indent, and the safety rail was lowered. I stepped in. The air was cold, much colder than the hallway. My breath showed in the beam of the flashlight. I checked the monitor, still unplugged, still off. But the EKG leads were warm to the touch, as if someone had been holding them. A buzz cut through the silence. Another call light, room 213. A live patient, Ms. Eleanor Hart, 78, recovering from hip surgery. Sweet woman, barely spoke, always had her rosary in hand. When I walked in, she was wide awake, staring at the ceiling. Her rosary was gone. "What's wrong, Ms. Hart?" I asked. She blinked slowly and whispered, "He's walking again." I frowned. "Who?" She looked at me. Her pupils were wide, fixed, like she was seeing something behind me. "He doesn't like being seen," she said. "That's why he starts with the empty rooms." A chill crawled down my spine. At 1:34 a.m. sharp, the hallway lights flickered off. All of them, pitch black. The hum of the machines went quiet, like something had sucked the power from the walls. For a second, all I could hear was my own breath. Then, a soft knock, not from the door. From inside room 209. 3 knocks, then 2, then silence. I turned and ran back into the hallway. The emergency lights hadn't kicked in. Everything was still dead. And then I heard it. Rubber soles, slow, dragging the footsteps from the far end of the West Wing, heading toward me. The hospital was supposed to be empty. Only 6 patients. But there were now 7 beeping monitors. Room 214. Unoccupied, no chart, no nameplate, but inside, the monitor was alive. Green pulse, beep, 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 and in the chair beside the bed, someone sitting perfectly still, back to me, facing the dark corner. My flashlight refused to turn on, no matter how many times I clicked it. But the monitor showed their outline. A tall, thin figure, motionless. The chair creaked once as they slowly leaned forward, and then the monitor flatlined. But the body never moved. The sound of the flatline buzzed low and slow, echoing down the hall. I backed away from room 214, but the chair stayed still. The figure unmoving. No breathing. No twitch. Just there. I turned to run, and the hallway had changed. Doors that were once closed were now wide open, call lights blinking red like veins. Every single one, all at once, flashing, humming, pulsing, not randomly, but in rhythm, like a heartbeat. 209, 210, 211, 212, and then silence again, until I looked down. A second pair of footprints beside mine, bare, wet prints leading toward me. I spun, expecting to see someone. Nothing. But when I looked again, the prints had moved. Now behind me, leading back the way I came. I felt watched. I was being watched. I ducked into the supply closet and slammed the door behind me, fumbling for the flashlight again. Click, nothing. Click, nothing. On the third try, it finally sparked. But the beam only reached the back wall and what was carved into it. Don't follow the knocks. My breath caught. The wall around the message was peeled, scraped like someone had clawed it out over and over. The closet suddenly felt smaller, like the air was thickening. My ears rang. And then, a knock. One single knock on the door. I held my breath. Another knock. Louder. Then silence. A third. Right by my ear. It was knocking from inside the closet. I tore the door open and sprinted down the corridor. The lights were back on, but flickering, giving me glimpses of something standing at the far end. Tall, wrong. Its face was stretched, featureless, smooth and pale like bone left in bleach. No eyes, just a mouth, a wide grin that ran from one side to the other. Its arms dragged the floor. I screamed, but no sound came out, and it moved. It didn't walk. It shifted, like a glitch. One blink, it was at the end of the hall. The next, 10 feet closer. The next, right in front of me. I blacked out. When I came to, I was sitting in room 209's bed. The lights were on. Morning had come. Dr. Leatham was checking my pupils. She looked concerned. "You had a fall," she said. "You've been out since 3:06 in the morning." But my mind was stuck at 1:34 a.m. That was when I saw it. That was when it saw me. I looked over at the chair beside the bed. There was a patient gown laid over it, a used oxygen mask, and taped to the IV pole. A note written in jagged red. "You followed the knocks." They discharged me 3 days later. No one believed me, not even the night nurse who replaced me. She made it 5 nights before quitting. Said she saw shadows under locked doors. Said the beds in the West Wing whisper names that no one says aloud. I moved out of town, changed jobs, started over. But every night at 1:34 in the morning, I still hear it. 3 knocks, then 2. Then silence. I tried to forget what happened. I really did. New town, new routine, no more hospitals. Just a quiet job at a 24-hour gas station near the highway. But trauma doesn't forget you back. It was 3 weeks later, my 3rd graveyard shift, when the first call came through the store phone. No one on the other end, just faint breathing. And then, a knock. I didn't sleep that day, and when I came back the next night, there it was again. Same call, same breathing. 3 knocks, 2 knocks, then silence. I told myself it was a prank, a wrong number, sleep deprivation, anything but that thing. But it was waiting. By week 2, I started seeing faces on the security monitors, white, stretched, flickering faces, staring straight into the cameras during hours when no one was there. And one night, just after 1:34 in the morning, the back room light went out, and the monitor showed a figure in the hallway. Not on the camera, on the screen, moving from aisle to aisle. Then, directly behind me, when I turned, no one was there, but the monitor now showed me standing alone, with a shadow beside me. I quit that night. Didn't even grab my last check. Burned the uniform, threw the shoes out, tossed the phone into the river. But it didn't stop. Because once you see it, once you're marked, it follows. It doesn't haunt a place. It haunts the hour. 1:34 in the morning. That's when the veil thins. That's when it finds the ones who are alone. And it only needs you to do one thing. Answer the knock. Now I sleep with the lights on. Every night, without fail, but sometimes, in that moment between dream and wake, I hear it again. 3 knocks, then 2. And I know, deep down, I never left room 209. I don't think anyone does. Like, comment, share if you made it through the shift. If you made it this far, you're one of us. Subscribe so you don't miss what crawls out next. If you have a horror story of your own, feel free to drop it in the comments. You never know, the next story could be yours. See you on the next one.